The goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And welcome to ADjunct, where we interview the top advertising lecturers and professors across the country to lend some knowledge to your ear without spending up to thousands of dollars on a university credit. This week, we learn from Jenny Buschhorn. I love that name. Jenny is an associate professor of practice in advertising at Texas State University. And she is an experienced associate professor with a demonstrated history of working in higher education. She is a recipient of the Texas State University President's Award for Teaching Excellence, and she earned that in 2017. Also, Jenny is the chair of the American Advertising Federation's National Education Executive Council, and she judged the 4A's Jay Chiat Awards, and she is skilled in integrated marketing, advertising, branding and identity, marketing strategy, research, and of course, lecturing. So this episode, we learn about her. We learn about Texas State and what she teaches and tells her students to become successful in their job search and how to thrive in the industry long term. Specifically, we mention the importance of entering new business at some point in your career, the importance of presentation skills, and other must-have soft skills to make it in this industry. So I have spoken to hundreds of professionals and professors, and the consensus is that you need a few fantastic campaigns that stick out to break into advertising. So if you want to break into this business as an art director, copywriter, strategist, or hey, even account, it is worth checking out Breaking and Entering's brand new Crowbar Awards. We are releasing a new creative brief every quarter for you to work on with a friend. Whether or not you enter is up to you. Take the brief, run with it, and put it in your portfolio. But if you want to enter, we have Greg Hahn judging this first award show, co-founder of Mischief, one of the top agencies in the business today. It's an award and a tool. The best campaign will earn an actual blue crowbar. While we don't advise you to break into an advertising with it, if you do, take some pictures because that's pretty funny. But anyways, recruiters and pros will be watching the winners of this show. So to find more, to enter, grab a friend or two, visit www.crowbarawards.com. Go there for all the details. The first brief is due March 31st. That's a hard deadline. So March 31st it is. Don't procrastinate. Now, on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast Adjunct Edition. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Jenny Buschhorn, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How are you doing today?
I am great today. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk advertising with you because you're the associate professor of practice in advertising at Texas State University. Is that correct?
Yes, that's where I am. That's what I do.
Amazing. And where is Texas State University?
Well, it's in San Marcos, Texas, which is right in between Austin and San Antonio. So we kind of get the best of both worlds. And there's a beautiful river that runs straight through our university. So you can be in class and then jump in a tube and be tubing down the river within 5 minutes. So we are well suited for college students.
Really? I have to go check it
Yeah,
out. That sounds amazing.
it's awesome.
And
Yeah.
what's the weather right now?
It's a nice day. It's not too bad. A little warm for this time of year, but it'll cool off. We don't get too cold, and we do get super hot in the summer, but
Yeah.
we have the river, so it's good.
What is like super cold for you?
Um, 30s, 20s. I know that for people up north, that's
No, it's
crazy,
cold.
but
No,
like
that's cool.
if we get down to, the 30s and 40s, we're all freaking out. And if it
Yeah.
snows, we all stay home because we have
Yeah.
we have nothing to use to drive in it. Like,
Yeah.
so
No,
yeah.
that's fair. But that's amazing. And I think that's I'm love learning about new college campuses as I'm talking to different professors and lecturers on this podcast. So I can't wait to learn more about Texas State and specifically the advertising program there. And we talked a lot. We talked a little bit beforehand, high level. So you're an associate professor of practice, so that we should know by now with the episodes that associate professor of practice meaning you have some industry experience. So we'll get into some of that. You have some experience with the AAF, the American Advertising Federation. So we can start anywhere you want. I want to know what your role is today and tell us about yourself.
Okay, so today I head the advertising program at Texas State. So there are a little over 500 students in our program, 9 professors with some other adjuncts and other professors that come in, lecturers that we need as we go along. We are a full program start to finish. We have portfolio programs, we have advanced media, we have advanced strategy. We are all across the board, really have spent the last few years really fine tuning the program and making it more encompassing. It tended to be a much more kind of overview program before, and now it's a much more thorough program. We've added a lot of different things to help students be prepared to go out in the world of advertising. So it's a little bit of everything.
Mm, I love it. And so you said you're the head of that?
hmm Yeah,
Oh,
I
you're the right
teach.
person to talk to.
I teach campaigns, and then I teach a class, which I'm sure we will get into later. But I teach a class called Strategic Professionalism, which is a class that's all about what skills you need to be out in the world. So
Ooh,
it's
I
not
could use that.
just yeah, it's not just it really has nothing to do with advertising. It has more to do with what do you really want to do with your life? What's your resume look like? How do you get an interview? How do you eat dinner when you go out with a client? How do you order wine? Do you order wine? Do you drink? Do you not drink? We even get into what do you do now that you're making money in a job? What do you do with that money? Do you invest it in 401ks and IRAs and Roths? And
Ooh.
we do all that kind of stuff in that class. So I
Oh, do you
teach
want to
both.
quiz me? Can you quiz me right now, high level? Because I don't know
There you
anything.
Yeah,
I can
I
use some
actually
help.
bring in a professional that does that because it's not my super strong suit either. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to marry a CPA. He does all that. So
Oh, that's the dream. That is amazing. I'm looking at CPAs right now, and especially as tax season coming up, they're crucial. You did the right thing there. Yeah.
mhm,
Uh,
yeah,
just had me thinking about all of my tax and stuff. So thanks for reminding me. When do
sorry
you
about
teach?
that.
When do you teach that? When do people take that course? That's what was it called?
We like them to. It's called strategic professionalism, and we like them
Sure.
to take it their junior year, preferably kind of like their spring semester of their junior year. But you can take it fall or spring, just so
Yeah.
that you're prepared. You can go get internships with
Yep.
with the information we're giving you. You can start to really build your network before you're ready to graduate. A lot of our students take it their senior year because they're kind of procrastinate and they put it off. But we really do like them to take it their junior year.
Junior year sounds about right. Maybe
Yeah,
I would recommend first semester of junior
yeah,
year,
yeah.
um, because like we just talked about now, the Havas
Internships,
Chicago's internship is open as of today, which is January.
right.
I don't know to that 10th today. So maybe like
Yeah,
that first semester they could have started that networking because they kind of we're trying to open up internships earlier from the agency
right.
perspective. It when I was in school, and this seems to be the case, like some of these agencies are procrastinating. They'll wait till the last second. But no, I think we're now kind of realizing everybody's like every agency has their own internship and it's like competing
Yeah.
for the best people. So
Yeah, it's really
earlier is
interesting
helpful.
how agencies have moved that date back too, because there were quite a few that had their due dates even before Christmas this year, and you had to have
Oh,
everything in
really?
for summer
Yeah.
in December, and getting students to think about it that early is harder and harder, but it's just becoming a thing. So
Yeah, definitely. I like that. That's a fun class. And if you ever need any help with that, let me know.
I actually think I might be calling you to come talk to
We'll
it.
see. I mean, Who knows? It'd be probably a real eye opener if they have questions. I probably don't know much, so but that's okay. Um, so you had the program, you teach that class. What were the other classes you said that you were teaching?
I teach advertising campaigns, so I
Okay.
teach the final capstone class
Yep.
that our students take, and that class is structured in a way that they have a real client. They do some projects up front, some smaller, kind of low stakes, get your feet wet, remind you of what you're doing. But everybody has a job. We basically create an agency, and
Yep.
they come in and do a real world campaign, and then at the end of it, we go actually to an agency or to a company and present to
Nice.
the people in the agency, so that mostly because we don't want them to have not been in a big scary conference room presenting to people. That first experience shouldn't be after you graduate. It should be while you're still in school, and you don't have as much writing on it. So
And
that's our
are you,
goal.
is everybody in the class working together? Are you breaking them down to the group? How does it work?
There's depends on how big the classes are, but usually we break it into 2 groups, so 2 small agencies. We have an account, so we have at least 1 account service person, we have, uh, strategists, we have media planners, we have, content creators, we have art directors, copywriters, various, people will come with whatever their skill set is, and then we pull them together. They create an agency and they do everything start to finish, from business brief, creative
Love it.
brief, all the way to creative and media planning. So
And this is mandatory pretty much for all advertising
it
majors.
is.
Like you
You
offer
have to
majors, I'm
take. It's your
assuming.
last class. Yep,
Yep.
it's the last class you have to take.
Let me give a piece of advice to students because I've talked to many professors and I've done this. If you're waiting to build your portfolio piece for that last class, you might be too late. That class is so essential to understand the full process, and you should really take your time with it in that classroom setting, learn, explore, and really fall in love with the process. But that if that's your only portfolio piece by the end of your career, college career, you're looking at a portfolio school, or you're looking at a hard next 2 years and figuring it out. You shouldn't wait to that last class. I think like your classes before, I'm sure we can get into it, like creative classes or on your own. Like just don't wait for that last class. But that's such an important class to take. Everybody
I
should have
I
that.
I wholeheartedly agree with you on the portfolio piece. Working on your creative, working on it all the time, getting it prepared, getting it in there, having it before that final semester is vital. That's who gets the really gets jobs. That's who gets, to really interview with people and look at opportunities that other people don't get to look at, because you're prepared and you've got the work to show for it. So I
Mhm.
agree
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
Yeah, no, but I think those classes are so important, and I got kind of screwed in mine. The teacher who I love still, and I'm still in touch with, Marissa, she put us in the only all guys group, and guys just aren't good at this stuff. Blanket statement in classes, the guys are just not good in small groups. I'm gonna overgeneralize there because why not? But I just had a tough group and I had to do all the work.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that we do these classes, that why they're super important and why students need to understand that they're super important, is a big part of that class is learning how to work in a group, and learning how to work in a big group where
Yeah.
everybody has a different job, and you have to show up and you can't ghost and you can't, hope that somebody else does your job, or hope that somebody else is thinking about something that thought of, or what. Really learning how to work in that team environment. As you know, advertising is one great big huge group project. Like
Yeah.
it is. So
Yeah.
if you can't do it in school, you can't figure out how to do it in school. It's going to be really hard when you get out in the world. So that's one of the things that I think is super important about that class is really learning how your skill set allows for a group to be better.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I find it challenging now owning groups and working in a group setting online. It's tough. I mean, I don't specifically fall into a specific group or category or or I don't have a partner. So just gathering assets and resources from all around the agency is tough, but you can't give up. You just got to keep like staying relentless and keep reaching out, email, project manage, timelines. It's so crucial. I'm sure you're learning that in your classes, but like having spreadsheets and working backwards on the calendar, it is real life and you're doing it all the time. And that's the future for a lot of these project manager roles, account roles. Really like creatives need to even understand how to work backwards and timeline as well on these projects too. So it's so crucial.
Yes, yes, and timelines, I think that's something that you're as a student, you're really used to doing your own timeline, but you don't think about all the pieces that have to happen for the whole campaign to come together and all the different people that have to be part of that and really understanding how to work that so that your part is just in time, or early,
Yeah.
as opposed to, oh, didn't do my part,
Mhm.
better shove that in there. So I think learning that time management and that backward building is crucial,
Yeah.
so important. And I bring that from my years of experience in the agency,
Yes. You
and
read
it's
my
kind
mind. I
of
was just about to switch over there. Yep.
so I think it's why we stress it so much because there's a whole group of us that teach together. We have some tenure track, but everyone in our department in our program has had work experience, so we
Yep.
all understand what you have to do to make it happen, and so that's been a big part of building the program.
Gotcha. And my last question about the program then is there specializations, concentrations? Can you, or you just, do you tailor the curriculum based off creative classes if you're interested? Is there official tracks? What does the structure look like?
Right. Well, we don't have specific tracks for per se
Sure.
where you can, but we do have tracks with it. I say that, but there also are
But
tracks, right? So
yeah, but you can
when
pick
you
a
at a
different route.
certain
Yeah.
point, you start to choose what advanced classes you want to take. So do you want to take the advanced classes that are more strategic? Do you want to take the media ones? Do you want to take the creative ones? We offer advanced in all of those areas as well as a portfolio program class in creative. So you've got the opportunity to go different directions. We also, within the School of Communications that we're in, we have some other electives that you can take. So if you're really interested in production, you could take some production classes. If you're really interested in, like we have a class in drones. Like if you decide that you want to do photography, you can go take some photography classes. If you want to take more analytics classes, we have some social analytics classes that are, so there's, we help students build that pathway of where their interest
Hmm.
lies, rather than having specific sequences and having a big cohort go through
Yeah.
that. We want it to be you pick where you, because there are students who really don't know and need to go take all those different things to figure out what they want to do. Right. I mean,
Yep.
I have students every day who are like, I don't know, I'm really super interested in photography, but I also like developing creative. And oh, by the way, I'm really good at math. So I like to do the analytics stuff. And so they can go take all those different things and
Yeah.
then decide where they wanna focus, so
I like that. Definitely. Who's good? Who wants to create creative and who is good at math? I want to talk to them. They're superhumans.
you'd be surprised how many students really are if they can get over the fear of math. Once they see, because analytics isn't really math, it's looking at numbers and creating stories, right? And so it's not you have to sit down and know how to do math. You have to be able to look at a number and somehow in your brain creatively figure out what it means, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be surprised at how many people, once they get over the fact that I hate to do math,
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
actually use those skills.
And no, strategists need to it's pretty much mandated now, or you're gonna, strategists are gonna encounter data sets and they are gonna look at them. If you're at a large agency, then they might, like a super large agency, they might have departments that will do it for you. But if you're at a small to mid-sized shop, you're probably going to be looking at these data sets and coming up with your own insights and stories and narratives off them. So you're absolutely right. So strategists, like that's out there too. So definitely take those classes. Um, Amazing. I want to understand the credibility behind all of this and what you're saying. And you said that you had industry experience, and I want to dive into that really high level. Um, what does that look like? At what point in your life did you say, I want to study or I want a job in advertising, making ads?
Okay, so I'm one of those weird people. In 6th grade, I decided I wanted to be in advertising because my English class did a project on how to do ads.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I thought that was
Rhetoric.
really cool.
Yeah.
So I kept going through things. So when I went to school, I started with a degree in advertising and marketing. And I got so into advertising, I dropped the marketing part, got my undergrad in advertising. Then I got my grad degree, my master's degree in advertising, stayed all the way through that.
All at the same time,
Immediately,
right back to back. You went from
I
undergrad.
I took I took 6 months off,
Sure, that's back to back. That's fine.
and but
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
went
nothing.
straight from undergrad to grad.
Yeah.
And I then start before
Why?
I graduated. Why? Okay, so when I came out of school, not unlike now, the
Yeah.
economy wasn't all that great.
Yep.
I had an opportunity to stay in school and get my master's, which I felt at the time would give me a leg up into getting a job,
Yeah.
and so I did.
We see that a lot still
And
today. People
Mhm.
when economy is bad, people will get more education.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So that's, that was kind of my thing. I had the opportunity to do it, so I thought might as well. I also kind of in the back of my head, not really, but my grandma was a professor, so in the back of my head, I always thought maybe someday I might want to teach, so that master's degree would be helpful. But really didn't think I was going to do it. Just you know, it was there.
Yeah.
But after I got my grad degree, I actually before I even finished my grad degree, I had an internship at GSD&M in Austin. And, meanwhile, I was interviewing all over the country, but I decided to stay at JSD&M, and so I stayed there for a while. I then decided to kinda move around and do some other stuff, so I worked at, McCann for a while on, Coca-Cola and,
Mhm.
Six Flags theme parks and things like that. I then,
And what roles were you said, so mainly the account track. I see a new business in here at
I
GSD&M.
started as account service. I then worked my way from account service into new business. From new business, I moved back into account service, and that was at a time where strategists really started to become a thing, and it wasn't just research, but it became strategy in the agency. And that was what I was actually well suited for. The organization part of account service was really not my thing. I was not great at that. I did it, but it stressed me out and I wasn't great at it. So
Yeah.
I transferred kind of into strategy via new business because that's really the role I played in all of our new business pitches. And so I did a ton of strategy work. Then I became a strategist. Went to work for went freelance for a while,
Sure.
then decided to partner with Magera Jesse, which is an agency in Austin, Texas, and started a company called the Business Planning Group. And so for 10 years, I ran a strategy company that did strategy for the agency, but also strategy for other companies. So we ended up
Nice.
doing all kinds of interesting things, including menu development. We would do food testing. We would do all kinds of crazy different things within our strategy company. And then I decided I had done the big agency thing. I had worked on big, huge clients. I'd worked on Southwest Airlines. I'd worked on JCPenney. I'd worked on Coke. I'd done all the dream things you're supposed
Yeah.
to do. Um, and I had 2 kids, and I thought, I'm running this company and I'm trying to manage them and I'm not doing everything well. So I think I'm just going to take a step back, do some freelance work. But always loved advertising, and it drove me crazy not to use my brain a whole lot. And a friend called who I had done some guest lectures for at Texas State and said, "Hey, we have a strategy class. We need somebody to teach. Do you want to teach one class?" And I thought, well, that sounds like a good use of my brain. I think I'll do that. So started teaching one class. Fast forward 10 years, and here I sit. I had the department. I have been, I've been teaching full time for 10 years. I've worked my way up to associate professor. I've done it became my second career completely accidentally.
Right. I love that. And everybody says they start off with one class. They're like, all right, maybe
Yes.
one
Be
class.
very,
And
very
then,
careful if they ask you to teach one class.
right. Love that. Gotcha. So interesting career path. Very interesting. What were some of the cool, like, I guess, some of your favorite campaigns or experiences or people you've worked with? Any high level cool stories that you like to recall?
I will always say it's a little awkward now because of everything that's happened, but I will always say my time on Southwest was probably the best time I had because I was at Southwest during a time period where they were really starting to grow and really developing who the brand was going to be and
Sure.
what they stood for and being different from the rest of the industry. Not quite as impactful now, but was then. So that has always been, working with Herb Kelleher was probably, one of the sitting in meetings with Herb Kelleher's got to always be your highlight
Nice.
of your career. I've had the opportunity to work on big, huge pitches, which was always super fun and just something that's when you really learn about people and how people work together and the stress of working on a new business pitch is
Yeah.
something that is always a great experience and always a terrible experience all at the same time. So,
It's great if you win, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even sometimes when you don't win, even sometimes when you win, it's like, oh my gosh, we used to call it the dog got the truck, like the dog caught the truck. It's a very Texas expression, but it's like the dog's running after the pickup truck and they never think they're going to catch it. And then all of a sudden you've now caught this piece of business and you're like, oh my God, what are we going to do now? So
Love it.
there was always that moment as well. But I think I've had the opportunity to work on a lot of accounts doing
Yep.
strategy up front on accounts that had very little strategy, and I think that has always been my love is taking accounts that didn't really have a point of view and finding a way to have a point of
Yeah.
view, and I that's been really probably the best part of what I did.
Love it. Amazing.
It's
I
also
have no,
probably why I love teaching because I get students to be able to have that. We try to have projects where students can have that experience and understand what it feels like. So,
yeah. Yeah, no, and your experience, I have no doubt, translates to the classroom and is super beneficial for your students. So I'm sure they're getting a lot out of it. And what I want to know
okay.
now is like back to the classroom area and what you're doing now. What are those things that you're constantly telling your students and those advice points at work? Maybe they come back and they guest lecture, or they say hello or speak to your students and say, this is the one thing that really helped me out. You guys should listen up to Jenny.
I think the thing that they will tell you is that I steal quotes from the best of the best. So I'm
Of
constantly
course.
quoting people in the
Yeah, why
agency
not?
industry. But good enough is not good enough is my one of the mantras that I really live with my students on. And so I think it's tempting to turn something in and think it's done. And we
Yeah.
all know that in the advertising agency business and in the company, any advertising marketing company, it's not done when you turn it in. It's not done the first time you do it. And so I think probably the thing that my students will tell you is that I push them to be better and better and better every time to make it better instead of just saying, oh, okay, thanks, you turned in your assignment. Our goal is really to keep refining that assignment, make it better, think in a different way, look at it from a different perspective, and really never think that good enough is enough. So,
Yeah. And definitely developing that thicker skin. I'm sure that what they're going to
oh, yes.
need.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
absolutely. But, I think we try to develop the thicker skin in a in a loving, caring way. I know that sounds backward, but I try to come at it, and our whole group tries to come at it from we're trying to help you be the best you can be and get the job that you deserve and be able to do the things you want to do when you get out of here. And part of that is really you understanding that you're going to have to take criticism and criticism from a perspective of making you better, not criticism from a perspective of tearing you down.
I
So,
don't know. about other agencies, but I know Havas Chicago, I mean, approaches it the same way. Why would you not? I mean, how else are you going to do it? You're going to be malicious about your feedback and be harsh. We want people to stay and create great work,
Hmm.
and maybe that's from Myra, who's our president, and she kind of like leads that way, but it comes down from her. We're the same way, and agencies
Yeah.
should be the same way. You're not going to go like there are some that are probably more I don't know, more strict. There's a word I was going to say. I don't want to say it, but there's stricter shops out there.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be, and don't work there. Like, just
Right.
leave.
Well, and I will tell you that some of it comes from my experience in grad school. I had a couple of professors who were from the old school of I'm going to tear you down and then you have to build yourself back up and good luck kind of. And
Sure.
I don't think that that's good. Like I think long term that probably
No.
doesn't do it. So,
Yeah. No. And no. That and if you see that, you could just leave your agency and get a new job.
mhm,
But
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Don't put up with that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can get if you do create good work and you are of value, you let them know that and then they won't. But you seriously though, like nowadays I don't hear about that. The agencies, the good ones that I talk to and the people that I talk to on my podcast, none of them, nobody, I mean, nobody's telling me and I'm not hearing bad stuff about
Yeah.
shops
You know,
nowadays.
while we were talking here, I had another thought of something that I think is important for people to know and that I'd like to throw out there. And it's I don't think that young advertising professionals realize how important they are in the room. There's a reason people want younger people in the room. There's a reason that they have hired the people they have hired. And I think there's a tendency to not want to speak or not want to give your opinion or not want to um, say what you're thinking because you're afraid that you're going to say something wrong or do something wrong. But a lot of times, the people in the room who are more junior level can see the forest for the trees, or the trees for the forest. How does that phrase go? I'm not quite sure.
Sounds good to me. I got
Um,
it.
but I think that you have to have the strength of character to stand there, and you don't want to be talking all the time. Don't get me wrong. You don't want to like interrupt meetings and do all that. But I do think when someone asks your opinion, give it to them. They're asking for your opinion for a reason and not just to be nice to you.
It actually works. There's I have I don't see people I know people that speak too much and it works for them in my
Yeah,
agency. Maybe just for mine once again, but the people that are constantly talking, they get rewarded for it. Even when their ideas are bad and they make no sense and it's a bad idea, just generally speaking, it's probably a bad idea. We reward them and we respect them more. So you really
yeah,
can't go too far. Don't interrupt anybody. You have common courtesy, but really you will you will get noticed if you do that. I have a terrible time doing this. Um, and that's why I go in every day to the office. We have a hybrid work schedule. It's not mandatory. I mean, they want us to go in Wednesdays and Thursdays, but really they don't really enforce it. But I'm there 100% of the days, Monday through Friday, because I feel more confident speaking in person. Like
mhm,
even, and I host a podcast. I've done this for 156 weeks, however many weeks on the phone. I still have a tough time just communicating and getting my thoughts up, like interrupting on Zoom and like putting my hand up on Zoom or like Google. It's tough for me, but like being in person has been a tremendous help for like the beginning of my career. And I definitely recommend as you get into your career, think about like, can you go in? Should you go in? I think you should personally. I think you should try to go in as much as possible if you can.
I agree. I agree. I think there's a tendency right now for people to want to stay home. And I think there's nothing better than being in a room with someone and being
Yeah.
able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
It Zoom is great and all the other,
It's
but
necessary. You have to learn how to
it's
do it.
just
Yeah. But
body language is important, eye contact is important. All those things help you to learn how to communicate better.
and we noticed that the people that are just starting out in their careers need that in-person experience. Whereas your creative director who's been doing this for, 15, 20 years, like they don't care. They go online all day. They could still create and ideate on their own. They know what they're doing. They know how to lead. They get it. They have the skills. Whereas it's not the case with juniors and
Yeah.
interns. So now we're making an effort to make sure our juniors and our interns are getting more time in the office. So a
Yeah.
little
Yeah. I
teaser
think
there, but
FaceTime is important.
yeah, amazing. Well, I have no other questions. Was there anything else you're burning to tell people or you wanted to get out to the world?
You know, I will say that I think that advertising is an amazing industry, an amazing career. I think sometimes we start to feel bad about who we are and what we're doing and you know all the things that come with being in advertising. And I know, there are times when you're like, I'm an advertising professor, and people go, oh, you teach advertising? Like, it's like, oh, bad thing. I want everybody to know I
Really?
love my career in advertising. I love teaching advertising. I think that what we do with advertising changes culture, changes the way the world looks at things. And I think we have the greatest opportunity to be really positive, wonderful influences in the world. And I want people to believe that and know that, because I think it makes so much sense. We do a ton of work to get to really great communications. And I think we should get
Yeah.
credit for being who we are and own it and love it, and push through those people who are naysayers, because I think advertising's awesome.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Jenny. So how can people reach out to you if they have any other questions, if they want to say hello, learn more about your maybe transfer schools or enroll?
uh,
I don't know. How can they reach out?
Yeah, obviously, I'm on LinkedIn. It's Jenny Buschhorn, Buschhorn. Yes, we make it as hard as possible. You can also reach me at my email at Texas State. It's buschhorn@txstate.edu.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on and lending this amazing
Sure. Thank
advice. And,
you.
and thank you for, on behalf of all students out there for all you do.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you so much for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. If you like what you heard, it would mean a lot to us and help us grow and get better guests and better break-ins if you can go to Apple Podcasts and leave us 5 stars and a small review if you have the time. Be sure to connect with our guests if you like what they said by going to our Instagram at Breaking and Entering Pod. That's all one word, Breaking and Entering Pod on Instagram. We have links to their portfolios and their LinkedIn, and they want to connect, so do that. And thank yous. Thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio engineer, and Buchan Zhang, our creative director. Can't do without you two, and a team from the University of Illinois. It's a student team from the agency called AdBuzz. They're a PR agency, and it's been a pleasure working with them. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next week with another amazing guest.